So this woman unalives her husband and then blames it on her own daughter. Her name's Stacey. One day, Stacey falls in love and gets married, but unfortunately her husband dies of a heart attack. About a year later, she finds love again when she meets this guy, David. Eventually, Stacey and David get married. Things seem to be going well until they're not. One day, Stacey and David get into a horrible fight. It's really bad. The fight lasts 7 hours. David gets so mad that he locks himself in their bedroom with a bottle of alcohol because he doesn't want to see anyone. Stacey and the kids decide to stay elsewhere to give David time to cool off. 3 days go by and David is still locked in the bedroom. Stacey hasn't heard from him, so she calls 911 to request a wellness check. Police and paramedics arrive, knock on the door, but there's no response. They kick the bedroom door down and find David on the bed, unalived. They also find an empty bottle of antifreeze under the bed and a glass of it on the nightstand next to a bottle of alcohol. It looks like David unalived himself with antifreeze. Stacey confirms that David had been depressed, and it seems like an open and shut case of suicide until some of the detectives working on the case start doubting it. In David's will, it's revealed that he left all his money to Stacey and her daughters, while leaving nothing to his own biological son from a previous marriage. This raises eyebrows. The police begin to suspect that this might have been a homicide. Detective Spinelli, the lead investigator, launches a full investigation and starts suspecting that Stacey may have poisoned David with antifreeze. Spinelli decides to investigate Stacey's first husband's death. Although it was ruled a heart attack, Spinelli isn't convinced. He petitions the court to exhume the body for a new autopsy. It takes 2 years, but the request is granted. When the autopsy report comes back, it shows that Stacey's first husband's body is loaded with crystals, a telltale sign of antifreeze poisoning. Spinelli is convinced Stacey killed both of her husbands with antifreeze. Spinelli brings Stacey in for questioning, but she doesn't give him much. He then decides to talk to Stacey's daughter, who has just started college. Spinelli informs her that her father didn't die of a heart attack years ago. He actually died from antifreeze poisoning. The daughter is shocked and freaks out. She calls her mom, Stacey, to confront her. Stacey brushes it off and tells her, "Life is hard. Let's have a drink when you get home." The daughter eventually goes home and Stacey prepares a drink for them. After having just one drink, the daughter suddenly feels tired and goes to bed. The next morning, the daughter's sister finds her barely breathing in her bed. She runs to Stacey and screams for her to call 911. Stacey does so, and when paramedics arrive, they discover a suicide note written by the daughter. The note says she plans to unalive herself and also confesses to poisoning her dad and stepdad with antifreeze. It requests that the police stop investigating Stacey. Here's the twist. The daughter isn't dead yet. Paramedics rush her to the hospital and manage to save her life. When the daughter wakes up, Spinelli is there. He asks her about the suicide note and her alleged murders. The daughter's confused and insists she didn't try to unalive herself or anyone else. Spinelli shows her the note, and she denies writing it. The note is riddled with errors, clearly not written by someone with her education. Here's what actually happened. Years ago, Stacey unalived her first husband with antifreeze. Then she remarried and unalived her second husband the same way. When the police started getting too close to the truth, Stacey tried to unalive her own daughter with antifreeze and then frame her for the murders. Police find Stacey's fingerprints on the glass of antifreeze in David's room. They also discover multiple drafts of the daughter's fake suicide note on Stacey's computer. Police arrest Stacey, charge her with David's murder and with the attempted murder of her daughter. However, they don't have enough evidence to charge her with her first husband's murder. Regardless, Stacey is convicted and sentenced to just over 51 years in prison. About 7 years into her sentence, she dies of a heart attack.